Good morning, everyone. Today, I have an interesting mono red list, and I call it interesting because it's not Obosh. I think this list recently 5-0'd, and I was looking at it, and I was like, why is this not Obosh? And then I realized, oh, because it's running Abbot of Carol Keep in the main deck, and we have, like, Shenanigans and Ratchet Bombs in the side. Uh, Other interesting note is it has Spikefield Hazard, so this deck technically runs 16 lands and 4 tap lands / 4 spells. But other than that, seems like a pretty basic mono-red prowess list to me, with Blood Moons in the side. So I'm kind of interested to see what exactly this deck does. Played a test game with it and completely walloped humans, like, just played Blood Moon and then they couldn't cast any spells, so... Or played Magus of the Moon and they couldn't cast any spells. It was quite glorious, actually. So yeah, let's go ahead and take this into a Modern League. And this might be a short video, depending on our matchups, I guess. Alrighty, round one, here we go. I would love to play first. We will reveal Jengotha, which I feel like might manipulate our opponent's, what would you call it? Mulligans, I guess? Like, the only deck I've run into that plays Jengotha is like a weird variant of Tron, usually. So I guess we'll see what our opponent does. Our opponent did mulligan to 6. I'm starting Swift Spear here instead of Soulscar Mage because there is a possibility that I can draw Light Up the Stage. And this gives me the option to like attack and get it that way. Alright, opponent starts Aether Vial. We untap. We draw a Spikefield Hazard. So play Mountain. Play Soulscar. Go to combat. Attack for 1. I don't think I Spikefield Hazard here. If I wait until next turn, I can get two Prowess triggers instead of just the one. Also, my opponent might play an X1 that we need to deal with. So, we'll see. It may have been correct to just fire it off there. That's Athalia. Okay. Alright, we untap. We draw Abbot of Carol Keep. Play a Sunbaked Canyon. And we will cast Spikefield Hazard. Get a Prowess trigger. I could have cast Lava Dart here, and then if my opponent had some way to protect Thalia, I could flash it back out of the grave by sacking a mountain and paying 1 mana. Alright, go to combat. Attack for 4. See if my opponent vials in a 1-drop. They do not. I will Lava Dart my opponent here. So they take a total of 7. And we pass the turn. Actually, so normally I do not like Abbot in decks like the one that I'm playing right now. Because it's really hard to get value off of Abbot, because he's 2 mana. The card that gets exiled frequently is difficult to cast, that sort of a thing, because it's high mana costs. But like the way that this one is built, I actually kind of like Abbot in this deck. Because this deck is so low to the ground. So we'll start by playing Abbot. See what we exile. It is a Light Up the Stage. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Go to combat. Go ahead and attack. If my opponent activates Vial, I'm actually gonna stomp now. Well, this is the one awkward thing about Light Up the Stage. I guess it's correct to Light Up the Stage. So, Spectacle, Light Up the Stage. Because this way, the spells that we get we can at least cast until the end of next turn. Lightning Bolt and Lava Dart. Okay. Opponent vials in nothing. Pretty sure we got this locked up at this point. Yep. We had so much damage next turn, it was just completely unreasonable. So our opponent is playing some kind of red-white Giver of Runes, Thalia, Aether Vial deck. I don't think that warrants any adjustment from us. Like, I could drop Magus, but I don't know why I would. I think Magus is okay here. I don't think there's anything better in our sideboard for our opponent's deck. Alright, this time we're on the draw. My opponent sided up to 62 cards. Okay. We will reveal Jengotha. I like this hand, but it does have a real problem with Thalia. I'm still gonna keep it. But I might just get completely hosed by my opponent playing Thalia if we don't draw a second land. Okay, opponent starts Inspiring Vantage, Giver of Runes. Sure. Perfect. Play a mountain. play Swift Spear, pass the turn. I guess I should have attacked, but my opponent would just chump. Okay, I get the feeling that this is like red-white taxes. Play a mountain, play Swift Spear, Firebolt, Giver of Runes, get some Prowess triggers. So I really feel like my opponent's playing the Death and Taxes list that's got like Cleansing Wildfires in it. I can't think of what else they would be playing. Because that would explain the Field of Ruin, the creatures, the Aether Vial, the Ghost Quarter. Okay, opponent gets a Stoneforge Mystic. Probably gonna go get Batterskull. We untap. We draw Abbot. So, play Spikefield Cave. And I think I'm just gonna Firebolt, Stoneforge Mystic, and attack and Lightning Bolt my opponent. Like, Flame Slash, we could even use to, like, fog a Batterskull, if we had to. Abbot's a decent play next turn. Opponent casts a Winds of Abandon. That makes Abbot the even better play. I got a Sunbaked Canyon. We untap. We draw Ballista Coil Weird. So let's go ahead and play Abbot. We're almost a Flashback Firebolt here. Spikefield Hazard. I want to play it as a land. Alright, let's go to combat. Attack for 1. Our opponent is now within double bolt range. They are... Alright, they're still in double bolt range. I'm trying to think of how we could lose from this position. And I think because of the amount of flashbackable burn we have, and the fact that we have a Jengatha that we can put into our hand, it's okay to play out Blister Coil Weird this turn. If they play a land and they play Batterskull, we just Flame Slash the Batterskull and Flashback Firebolt and they die. Which feels pretty good because... So one of the things that kind of amazes me since I've played Modern for so long, way back in the day, Stoneforge Mystic used to be banned, and the argument was... like on the ban list that had like Wild Nicodle on it, right? The argument was, oh, well, Stoneforge Mystic, Stoneforge Batterskull is way too strong versus aggro decks. Like, you just push all the aggro decks out of the format if you do that. And it's just like completely not true at this point. Okay. So I think we just Flame Slash Firebolt. No, we don't Flame Slash. That's the thing. So we Flashback Firebolt to kill Seasoned Pyromancer. Okay. And the reason we're not casting Flame Slash is because our opponent is about to cast a Batterskull. It's their last card in hand. Now they can double block a creature here. But we have 2 cards in hand, so it's pretty risky to do that. They just have to do it, though, because otherwise they'll die. Oh, they're not going to double block. Okay. That's even better for us. So now we just play Soulscar Mage and pass. Theoretically, our opponent untaps, plays Batterskull, and then just dies to Flame Slash. Because Flame Slash is really good. Alright, opponent decided that Batterskull was not good enough to come back from that. Well, we absolutely destroyed our first opponent, and let's see... Normally it tells me how long I've been recording, but I don't see it right now. It's not showing up. Alright, we'll reveal Jengatha. Okay, we do have 2 lands, so I'm gonna keep. It kind of depends on what our opponent plays here is what we play. Okay, we draw Firebolt. That makes me feel comfortable enough to play a Monastery Swift Spear. I was thinking about playing Spikefield Hazard as Spikefield Cave first. It's gonna probably be another Death and Taxes list. My opponent could be on... like Spirits or... Alright, they play a Thalia. We untap, draw a Bone Crusher Giant. So this is kind of what I was worried about, but it's also not that big of a deal. The problem arises when our opponent has something like Giver of Runes here. Yeah, they didn't vial in a Giver of Runes, so that's good for us. So if my opponent has Leon and Arbiter plus Activate Field, we would have a big problem. On 2 mana, could they have anything that could protect Thalia? They could vial in another Thalia, but we still are going to Lightning Bolt Thalia here. I don't know why my opponent would untap that mana for us. Okay, we untap. We draw a Mountain, which is pretty good. So play a Mountain, go to combat, attack. Okay, opponent goes down to 18. We light up the stage. Prowess trigger here. If we don't get anything we want to play immediately, we can play Soulscar Blister Coil, which is probably what we're going to do. Yeah. Abbott is way better next turn. We have a land guaranteed for next turn now. The only way that this gets a little bit of a speed bump is if my opponent plays Thalia, but we also have a Firebolt and a Bone Crusher Giant in hand. So we should have an answer to that. Okay, my opponent untaps. Okay, my opponent keeps Aether Vial on 2. So we draw a Swift Spear. Let's play a Mountain. Oh, I guess I should have played Abbott first, but either way, we were going to have a... If this is a land, we were going to have it get exiled anyway. It is a Bone Crusher Giant. All right, well, in that case, we know what our spell this turn is going to be. Millions of Prowess triggers, it seems like. Okay. Go to combat. Attack for 6. So even if my opponent has removal, we're fine, especially Path. Like, Path here is great for us, because we are starting to get to where we can cast our more expensive spells. And our spells are not that expensive. So my opponent only takes 4. They pathed Soulscar Mage. Alright, they're going to vial in a 2-drop. It is a Stoneforge Mystic. This means they will have access to a Batterskull. Yep. Any other source of 2 or more damage, though, at instant speed lets us get through a Batterskull really easily. Even, like, if they just play out a Batterskull on their main phase, we could Firebolt, Flashback Firebolt. And if we're okay with it, we can trade off a creature for the Batterskull by casting Stomp off of Bone Crusher Giant. Opponent holding it in hand and waiting to activate Stoneforge at instant speed would be better, because that way they get around us having a Flame Slash. I don't know if they know that. I don't know if they know we would be main decking Flame Slash. I don't know how common the cards in my current mono-red aggro list are, because to me, from all of the mono-red variants I have seen, and to be fair, I'm usually in the losers bracket, are running Obosh. So maybe this is the optimum mono-red list right now. Who knows? Okay, we untap. We draw Spikefield Hazard. Unfortunately, without having Soulscar Mage, I guess we can force them to play Batterskull if we Firebolt Stoneforge Mystic. We'll play Swift Spear. We can't kill a Batterskull this turn. I mean, we can, but our opponent would block with it. We have so many Prowess triggers. An unbelievable, overwhelming number of Prowess triggers. But I mean, like, we can just kill Batterskull with, by trading off a creature and stomping. Actually, if my opponent blocks a Swift Spear, it will be large enough to get through the Batterskull, I think. So let's go to combat, swing with everybody. If my opponent has a 3-drop, I kind of want them to vial it in now. Alright. Well, if we have 2 spells, opponent picked the right creature to block because that way they still trade for the creature. They are going to take a lot of damage, even with the lifelink. One thing that's worth noting as well is Stomp stops damage from being prevented, which is important for things like Giver of Runes, granting protection, that sort of a thing, or like an Auriok champion. So my opponent is going to take, at current calculation, 13 damage and gain 4. So they're going to take 9 and go to 3. If they have like Path and Flicker Wisp, that's bad, but okay. Now opponent only takes 4, but next turn we can cast 2 Bone Crusher Giants. Well, they take 5, sorry, I forgot about Spikefield Hazard. Okay, they lose the Germ, they go to 7. They untap. I guess the worst case scenario would be my opponent vials in a creature and equips Batterskull, because then they have a massive life-linking threat and we have no way to stop them from equipping. Like, we can't kill it in response because we don't have like a Lightning Bolt or something. Another Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. Really hoping we draw removal for that. And they get a Maul of the Skyclaves. They can just equip right now. Would love to top deck Flame Slash. Flame Slash here would be great. We untap. Draw Magus of the Moon. We have Firebolt. If we play Magus, they can't sack to draw. The problem is they're going to have First Strike, Flying, and Vigilance next turn. And Lifelink. So if I flashback Firebolt, I can take them to 4, I can attack and take them to 2, but then my opponent's gaining 7 life a turn. So we'll play Bone Crusher Giant. And I think playing Magus to prevent them from drawing an extra card here is probably the way to go. I don't know how we're going to beat... oh, apparently the switch on my chair fell out. I don't know how we're going to beat an equipped Batter Skull is the problem. We don't have a Skull Crack. I guess like an insane amount of burn would do it if we got like a bunch of light up the stages and things like that. I guess. I have no idea what my opponent's playing. Okay, they played a Field of Ruin and equipped. They hit us for 7, so they gain 7, they go up to 13, we go down to 13. We untap. We draw Firebolt. Well, that's what we needed last turn. So I think what we do is play Bone Crusher Giant here. Don't need those out anymore. Okay, pass the turn. No attacks. And we're gonna need something pretty good off the top of our deck. I think this game is over, but... Okay, they hit us down to 6, they're back up to 20. We untap, we draw a Mountain, which is not good enough. Okay. So, I think instead of Magus of the Moon, we're going to bring in Shenanigans. Turning off my opponent's lands didn't seem as important. Ratchet Bomb, I really don't want to use, so we'll try it like this. It's good versus Aether Vial, too, if my opponent keeps a hand that is dependent on Aether Vial. I probably misappropriated some burn damage there, and I should have assigned it elsewhere, but I felt like what I was doing was correct. Alright, we'll play first. Reveal Jengotha. I feel like we want more threats, because I don't want to play Abbott on turn 2. I also don't want to mulligan. I think I'm gonna mulligan down to 6. Okay, I'm glad I did. This hand seems way better. I will keep this hand. I'm gonna put back a Mountain, and we will start Sunbaked Canyon, Soulscar Mage. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent starts Plains, and passes. We draw Abbot of Carol Keep. So play Spikefield Cave, go to combat, attack for 1. I guess I shouldn't have played out the cave because I could be bluffing that I have like a light up the stage and maybe bait a path. Alright. Second Soulscar Mage. And if my opponent plays like a Stoneforge or a threat, we'll bolt it. Otherwise, we're playing Abbott trying to draw a Mountain. Okay. Opponent plays a Plains, Winds of Abandon. Perfect. Get a Mountain. We untap, we draw Sunbaked Canyon. So start with Abbott. We reveal a Mountain, play a Mountain, go to combat, and attack for 1. We'll leave up Lightning Bolt / sack Sunbaked Canyon. Okay. Opponent untaps, plays a Plains. Another Winds of Abandon. Okay. Get a Mountain. Apparently my opponent kept mono Path to Exile effects, which is good that we're playing Sunbaked Canyons, I suppose. So, sack Sunbaked Canyon, we draw Firebolt, untap, we draw Spikefield Hazard. So play Sunbaked Canyon, go to combat, attack for 1, and I guess we just put Jengotha in our hand. I technically should not be playing these lands out pre-combat either, because it does obscure a tiny bit of information. But we've been playing like we don't have light up the stage for a long time now, so that's probably not worth playing like we have it when we don't. On the first couple of turns, maybe, but definitely not now. Okay. Opponent untaps, plays a Field of Ruin. They are going to field our Spikefield Cave. Sure. Let's go get a Mountain. If my opponent had tried to field Sunbaked Canyon, I would have just sacked it. Yeah. If my opponent wants to pass, that's fine. I'm not going to, like, cast a Lightning Bolt or anything right now. Okay, opponent plays a Stoneforge. They reveal Batter Skull. So theoretically, my opponent will have 5 mana next turn to just hard play a Batter Skull. But this is why we brought in Shenanigans. I'd like to draw a Mountain just so I can play Jengotha and Firebolt. So Firebolt Stoneforge. Play out Jengotha. Hit our opponent for 2. Yeah, I really hope my opponent does just go land Batterskull here. Alright. My opponent plays Batterskull. We untap. We draw a Lava Dart. So, Shenanigans, Batterskull, Prowess trigger. How much damage do we have? We're currently at 7. My opponent is at 15. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17 damage? My opponent's just dead? Okay. Lava Dart my opponent. Because they shouldn't have any free effects in the deck that they're playing right now. Flashback Lava Dart. Spike Field Hazard. With no art. And then Lightning Bolt. Awesome. So Shenanigans was pretty good there. And I think we just run it back. We will reveal Jengotha. This hand's not amazing, but I think it is playable, so I'm going to keep this. Okay. Sorry, I had to restart the client there. Opponent plays a Plains to start, and plays an Aether Vial. We untap, we draw Soulscar Mage. So start Mountain, I guess Swift Spear. And technically, playing Swift Spear, or playing Soulscar Mage first is the same amount of damage, but only if they connect, which may not happen. Opponent takes up Aether Vial to 1, and they only have Aether Vial. So go to combat, attack for 1. Opponent paths. This is why we didn't play the land first, because our opponent could be like, oh, he has light up the stage. Play Soulscar Mage, play Spikefield Cave, pass the turn. We do need to draw some more threats, though. Opponent vials in a Giver of Runes. Ticks up Aether Vial to 2. They have a Forge Tender. So we need Stomp to be able to swing through Forge Tender. Okay. And opponent vials in a Thalia. I would like to draw a Mountain. Alright. Alright, let's go to combat. Attack for 1. Opponent chumps with the Forge Tender. So we will Stomp Giver of Runes. Get a Prowess trigger. Damage can't be prevented means protection doesn't really matter. I could have stomped Thalia, and that may have been better, because like next turn we could play more spells. But I feel like getting rid of Giver, it's about equivalent. Okay, opponent Forge Tenders to prevent damage on something. I think it's Stomp, but Stomp's first line says damage can't be prevented this turn, so I think that gets around the Forge Tender. Yep. Okay, so opponent takes no damage. I am going to play out Spikefield Cave because we will need the extra mana to deal with Thalia. Opponent untaps. Aether Vial going up to 3. They attack for 2. Okay, we untap. We draw a Mountain. So play Mountain. Attempt to Flame Slash on Thalia. At this point, our opponent is so far behind that if we draw Shenanigans, I think it's just game over. Play out a Bone Crusher Giant, pass the turn. Because they can't play any more 2-drops right now unless they draw land. But by them not playing lands, it means they have 5 non-land cards in play. Or 5 non-land cards in their hand, excuse me. Okay, Abbott seems good, so play Abbott first. We draw another Soulscar Mage. Go to combat. Attack for 5. Opponent vials in Flicker Wisp, Skyclave Apparition. Okay. They hit Soulscar Mage. They take 4. Play Soulscar Mage. And I kind of want to Firebolt. But I think I'm going to Flame Slash here. Because we have, like, if we draw land, we have a 1 mana and a 5 mana play next turn. Flame Slash here, I believe, is fine. It gives us a 1/1 illusion to help keep beating our opponent down. If my opponent has a path, they may path their own apparition. Okay. Get a illusion. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a field. 2 mana. They play Stoneforge Mystic. They get Batterskull, and they're passing. Okay, we untap. Draw light up the stage. Honestly, 3 mana light up the stage. Really bad mono-red divination. Play Sunbaked Canyon. Firebolt Stoneforge Mystic. Go to combat. Swing for the fences. Opponent does not vial anything in, so we lightning bolt our opponent. And we get there. So mono red's very good versus these Death and Taxes style decks. Who would have thought? I actually didn't know that. I'm not like trying to be snarky and be like, oh, haha, you know. I literally didn't know that because I don't play this deck that often. The other reason I'm playing this deck, because I know a lot of people are going to find this boring. Some people on my channel have expressed interest getting into Moto and want a deck that's good enough that, you know, warrants buying into Modern. And the current mono red list that I'm playing is like $110, which puts it like $10 over the budget category for Magic. Usually people put the cutoff at about $100 for a budget deck. And I mean, if you drop the Sunbaked Canyons, which you don't need, but they are good, and I would build the deck slightly differently if you did. Like I would drop maybe a Spikefield Hazard, play one more Mountain, and then put in like 2 Lava Spikes or something like that. Alright, I'm not huge on this hand, because Mono Red really needs Prowess stuff to win. This version does, anyway. I think we have better 6s, so I'm going to mulligan. Okay, I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to put back Flame Slash, and I hope I don't regret it. We are on the draw, which, while it is a significant tempo disadvantage for us, having that extra card makes the mulligan not quite as bad feeling. So opponent starts Marsh Flats, cracks Marsh Flats, gets a Godless Shrine, untapped. Thoughtseize. Yeah! Starting off with a free Lava Axe versus the opponent. Versus Mono Red. So the only worry is that my opponent's playing Shadow, at which point we have to save up enough burst to kill them. They take Lightning Bolt. They probably have removal for Soul Scar in the form of like Fatal Push or a Path. I would not be upset if my opponent pathed me. Because us having the extra lands makes our creatures like Abbott way better. Makes light up the stage feel a lot better. Gives us a reason to sack Sunbaked Canyons to draw cards. Like, I don't feel bad about Path. Push and stuff like that, I do feel bad about. Like, if my opponent had a Collective Brutality here, and then, like, killed Duressed and Drained, that would suck. Okay, they play Castle Lochthwain. Stoneforge Mystic. So it looks like Orzhov Stoneblade, which is a very similar deck to the last 2 that we played. It's not quite the same. Play another Soulscar Mage, and we will Firebolt down Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. Prowess triggers. Kill the 1/2. Hit our opponent for 2. They're down to 13. Soulscar Mage makes fighting things out like Death Shadow a little bit easier, because you have access to like putting -1/-1/1 counters on an individual large creature. So go to combat, attack. And I think we just stomp before damage is dealt. Our opponent shouldn't be preventing damage. They can probably gain life because they have like a Shambling Vent, but if they spend their next turn animating Shambling Vent to gain 2 life back, we're just going to like bolt Lava Dart, kill them. I'm fairly sure anyway. Okay, opponent plays a Shambling Vent tapped. I think even through 1 removal spell, if they have a creature to block, it's different, but through 1 removal spell, we still kill them. Because this would be 1, 2, 3 points of prowess on 1 creature, and 5 points of damage. Yeah, that would work. Alright, opponent plays a Stoneforge Mystic. Does not search. We draw Light Up the Stage. So I think we Lava Dart our opponent's face. And if we get a land off of Light Up the Stage, which we should, an untapped land, if it's not a Spikefield Hazard, our opponent's going to be quite sad. Okay. Go ahead and Light Up the Stage. We get a Mountain. We can Firebolt Stoneforge. Go to combat, and even if my opponent has a Path or a Fatal Push, we can kill them with Lava Dart. Nice. So I think the same plan applies. We just do shenanigans. I kind of like Magus of the Moon, because our opponent was playing all... I'm going to drop a Flame Slash for shenanigans, and I'm going to keep Magus of the Moon in the deck. My opponent was playing, like, all non-basics. And it's really unlikely they start Fetch Shock Thoughtseize now versus the red deck, but, like, when Burn is balanced against your opponent having 20 life, and they don't know they're playing against Burn, and they start off at 75% of their average life total, even when they Thoughtseize a Bolt away from you, they're still starting 2 life and, like, tempo negative. It's pretty great. So reveal Jengatha. I will keep this hand. I think this hand is great. If my opponent Inquisitions us, they're definitely... I'm going to say they're going to take Magus of the Moon. They could take Soulscar Mage to try and prevent us from getting an early light up the stage, but that's why we have like 2 Firebolts. We could throw one of them at their face. That'd be fine. Also, a lot of people find mono red boring. And I understand why they feel that way. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but mono red versus mono red is one of the most interesting matchups I've ever played in my life. Like, trying to understand where and what you need to burn of theirs other than their face is very difficult. Like, it's quite intricate, at least in my opinion. And it's sort of like a puzzle. It's how fast can you count to 20? Alright, opponent does have Fatal Push, which does make us sad. They did mulligan to 6, so opponent has less resources than they normally should. They play a Swamp. They're going to Tide Hollow Sculler. They see we have 3 Firebolts, so 1 Firebolt is probably aimed at Tide Hollow Sculler. The fact that they have a Swamp does make Magus of the Moon a lot worse. Ooh, we draw Shenanigans. I'm going to Shenanigans because Tide Hollow Sculler is an artifact. Yeah, we get back Magus. This lets us save burn for their face. Also, if they're like setting up for a Batter Skull, we can just pick up Shenanigans out of the grave. When it plays a Godless Shrine, they're going to Inquisition. They can take Magus if they're really afraid of it, which they might be considering their setup. They could also take Light up the stage and try and stop us from getting lands. Okay, that's what they want to do. I'm not going to Dredge. Play Sunbaked Canyon. And we'll run out Magus. It's difficult for them to Fatal Push Magus, but they could have Collective Brutality or Path. If they have Path, I'm not going to be as upset because... Alright, opponent plays Stoneforge. They get Batter Skull. And they do have Collective Brutality. Okay? So I'm going to take a turn to Dredge Shenanigans because I want it for Batter Skull. We will Firebolt Stoneforge Mystic and pass. We do need to find threats, but my opponent only has 1 card in hand right now. We're not playing anything at instant speed, and I'm definitely not sacrificing Sunbaked Canyon. So opponent plays Batter Skull. We untap and draw Bone Crusher Giant. Shenanigans Batter Skull. And they're out of cards. They're out of cards before the mono-red deck is out of cards. That's pretty good. I would love to draw like a Swift Spear off the top here. I think that would be great. I would take a Light up the stage. Mountain is not terrible. I think what I'm going to do is Stomp on their turn and probably sack Sunbaked Canyon to draw a card. Because that gives us the option to play Bone Crusher Giant next turn. Right now we're kind of at a stage of the game where we have to extend to make sure we get as much value as we can. Okay, my opponent just ran out of Skyclave Apparition, which is why I didn't cast Bone Crusher Giant. So, Stomp Apparition. Draw a card. We will not Dredge. Lava Dart's okay. We untap. Draw Spikefield Hazard. Play out Bone Crusher Giant, and I'm actually going to play Spikefield Hazard here as a land. We do want to get up to 5 mana for Firebolts eventually, and the extra 1 damage here, without any Prowess creatures or anything like that, probably doesn't matter. I want to get some Marsh Flats. Liliana. Okay. They can downtick to kill Bone Crusher. So we untap, we draw, we don't Dredge. Swift Spear is good. So play Swift Spear. I'm going to put Jengatha in my hand, and we're going to attack Liliana and kill her. So obviously, if my opponent top decks like a big Planeswalker like Gideon or something to that effect, we're going to have a little bit of trouble. Opponent clings to dust Shenanigans, so that we don't have that option in the future. That is something I was thinking might happen, and was one thing that I was like, well, if we... I was thinking about that, actually, when I was hitting Tide Hollow Sculler, because my opponent's deck almost certainly plays this Cling to Dust effect. Them gaining life with it sucks, but if they're hitting creatures, they're not drawing cards, and if they're not drawing cards, we can probably beat their 1-for-1s. Okay, they Collective Brutality. We untap, draw Soulscar Mage, play Soulscar Mage. They can hit like our flashback firebolts though, which that does suck a bit. Inquisition. Okay, they have to take firebolt or lava dart, which I imagine they take lava dart? I don't know. Okay, they take a firebolt. If my opponent took lava dart and then tried to cling lava dart, I would actually sack a mountain and go like deeper that way. Because I would try to deny them the draw, basically. Alright. Play Abbott. Abbott finds us a mountain. Play a mountain. Alright, go to combat. Attack for 1. I'm trying to save burn spells for like when we have multiple prowess creatures attacking, because that is when they're at their strongest. Next turn, we're probably playing Jengatha. My opponent can Cling to Dust a Firebolt here if they want to prevent some damage and draw a card, which I feel like they should. Hitting a creature and gaining life I think is way worse. Yep, they exile a Firebolt. They draw a card. Alright, they untap. They play Silent Clearing. They sack it to draw. And they play a Skyclave Apparition, probably hitting Abbott here. They hit Soulscar Mage. Okay, they want to give us a smaller illusion. So we could kill Abbott here by casting and flashing back Lava Dart, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, we drew a mountain, which is perfect. Actually going to flashback Firebolt here rather than cast Jengatha. Which is probably wrong, but at the same time, my opponent plays Paths, I'm pretty sure. Okay, hit them for 3. They play a Sword of Fire and Ice. That means we need to probably save some instant speed burn to kill anything they could possibly equip that to. Play Jengatha. Go to combat. Attack for 3. I'm going to hold up Lava Dart because I feel like if my opponent draws another Skyclave Apparition or Tide Hollow Sculler or something like that, I want to have access to the burn more than I want to have a Soulscar Mage on board. Because if my opponent plays something and equips a Sword of Fire and Ice without us having shenanigans, I have no idea how we beat that. Alright, opponent does have a path for Jengatha, which is what I was kind of worried about. But overall, it's not that big of a deal. If we start drawing our other Light Up the Stages / Abbots of Carol Keep, we should be able to overwhelm our opponent pretty easily. Okay, they keep drawing lands. So opponent will probably Cling to Dust here, main phase, just to try and draw a creature. Okay, they hit Light Up the Stage. Okay, opponent doesn't play anything. We untap. We draw Bone Crusher Giant. So play Soulscar Mage. Go to combat. Attack for 3. They do have a card in hand, and it's probably removal, so I'm not going to go all out on prowess stuff here. I'm just going to hold up Bone Crusher Giant Stomp and Lava Dart in case my opponent draws a creature that they can equip Sword of Fire and Ice to. They only have one more Cling to Dust cast. Alright. It is a Tide Hollow Sculler. So Stomp the Sculler. Opponent can take 1 spell from us, and it's going to be Firebolt. I guess, actually, I should not have stomped in response. I should have let them take... No, actually I shouldn't. This is fine. I guess it was technically correct to let my opponent take something, and then we could kill it in response to them equipping with either Lava Dart or Stomp. My opponent gets to take a Firebolt permanently now. My opponent could have played Tide Hollow and taken Bone Crusher, but then we could have just Lava Dart, Flashback Lava Dart. I think now, though, we have enough prowess triggers to just kill our opponent. Yeah, we definitely do. So, Lava Dart. And I think we could even kill them from 11. They would have to top deck removal off of a Cling to Dust. So, Flashback Lava Dart. Go to combat and attack for 8. This might force my opponent to Cling to Dust a creature, and if they don't draw a card, then we just Lava Dart and kill them. I think my opponent has to draw a card and hit like a Path or a Fatal Push to kill Abbott here to really stand a chance, but I guess Lava Dart just kills them and we're slow rolling. But that's what I get for not doing the math beforehand. Okay, Lava Dart. Flashback Lava Dart. Awesome. So this version of Mono Red's pretty good, I'd say. We've played against basically the same deck 3 times. They're playing a lot of the same cards. Alright, round 4, here we go. Alright. Reveal Jengatha. I think this hand is great, so I will be keeping this over here so that I remember it. We will keep. If you can avoid mulliganing with mono red, you should. The extra card is frequently worth it. Even if the hand is like slightly suboptimal, it's fine. I would only mulligan in like, I guess, more extreme cases is how I would describe that, but start Swift Spear. Get in for 1. Okay, opponent goes to 19. They play Cavern. Let's see what they name. Spirit. So they're probably playing Supreme Phantom. Ooh, Shacklegeist. Okay. We untap. We draw a mountain. So play a mountain, play Swift Spear, and we'll Flame Slash. Magus of the Moon seems like it's going to be good versus our opponent's very greedy Bant deck, theoretically. Okay, hit them for 4. Next turn, we have like Stomp plus Spikefield Hazard or Magus, depending on what our opponent plays. They could just like leave up Spell Queller, I guess, which would be annoying, but not the end of the world. So we should definitely attack first to see if we can force a response, because we can kill anything they can flash on 3 mana, I'm 99% sure. Alright, opponent plays a Selfless Spirit. We untap and draw Mountain. I think I'm going to take a turn off of attacking and play Magus here. If my opponent's going to miss a land drop, Spikefield Hazard plus Stomp should be plenty. I'm not going to attack into this. There's no reason for me to trade off a Swift Spear here when I can basically kill it for free. Okay. Opponent attacks us for 3, that's fine. We untap and we draw another Swift Spear. So play that, go to combat, attack with everybody. If we had a Soulscar Mage here, we would absolutely dominate our opponent, but go ahead and just Spikefield Hazard here, which might make them sack their Selfless Spirit. Yep. Is it worth Bone Crusher Giant here? Bone Crusher Giant is 2 mana for 5 more damage. We can take our opponent to 4. Yeah, let's do it. Because it's not even like they kill Magus of the Moon. And we can just top deck Lightning Bolt and kill our opponent. And our worst play is just Bone Crusher Giant. So that's like still pretty good. We could bring in Shenanigans. They do run Aether Vial, but I really think just staying as low to the ground as we physically possibly can would be the ideal situation here. Several of their creatures are 1 and 2 toughness, which die to like 16 spells in our deck. Several of which are flashbacks. Yeah. I think these disruptive creature decks fold pretty hard to this. We have so many burn spells, we can burn their face down while burning every creature they play. And that feels really good. So this hand is a little bit awkward because we don't have any burn spells. I still think we keep. But like if we top deck Fire Bolts and Lightning Bolts and things like that, I think we're fine. Okay, so opponent kept an Aether Vial hand, which means they have less action, theoretically. So play Soulscar Mage. I would like to draw a Lava Dart or a Lightning Bolt. I think that would be better. It's when they start having access to playing multiple creatures a turn that their deck is most dangerous. So like if my opponent can put in... oh, they named Core. So this is going to be Core Firewalker. Okay. We untap. So we do need a Bone Crusher Giant to get through Core Firewalker. We're going to play Blister Coil Weird here, and my opponent is going to gain a life. And when we get a Bone Crusher Giant, we also need to make sure that we have access to cast Stomp through like a Mausoleum Wanderer. So this game is not going to be as easy as our last one was. I think of the decks we've played so far, this deck is slightly better against our primary game plan than the other versions of like the Taxes decks we were playing were. Okay, opponent plays an Aether Vial. They play a Mutavault, so they can't Spell Queller us, but they could have like a Rattle Chains. They're going to attack us for 1. Yep, that's fine. We untap. We draw Magus, which, honestly, I could just play Magus. I don't think my opponent has any interaction for this, and this shuts off 2 of their lands. They have an Aether Vial, so they're not like out of the game, and they can play things like Selfless Spirit, which would be a problem. Maybe I should bring in Shenanigans versus this deck. Opponent has a path. That's fine. They're almost out of cards. And we're not. We have, like, redraws off Abbott. We could play Sunbaked Canyon, crack it, and play Magus if we wanted to. But it vials in a 2-drop, and it's a... Rattle Chains, okay. Okay, so opponent untaps, they tick Aether Vial up to 3, they animate Mutavault, and they attack for 5. So no blocks, no trades. They're going to vial in a 3-drop to increase the size of Mausoleum Wanderer. It's probably a Drogskull Captain. Yep. Okay, we untap, draw Mountain. So let's play an Abbot. Opponent gains a life. Problem is if we hit, what is it? The Giant here, it's actually kind of a bad deal. Okay, now we have the option of playing Magus or playing Light Up the Stage. Magus shuts off Mutavault. Light Up the Stage just immediately gets countered, but also takes 2 damage off of what our opponent is doing. I think we risk the Light Up the Stage. Opponent can gain a life, sure. This gives us up to 2 cards we can play next turn. Swiftspear Light Up the Stage is not bad. We can attack for 2 here. The reason I'm attacking is because if my opponent wants to kill this, they have to double block. There's no reason for them to do that, but it might be tempting enough for us to kill the Drogskull Captain. Because we're not blocking anything. Not if we don't have to. I mean, the only thing we can theoretically block is Mutavault. They keep Vial on 3, which tells me they might have Spell Queller, which would be the worst thing for us. They play a Fiery Islet. Last card in hand is a Mausoleum Wanderer. They animate Mutavault. So we would have to double block and trade, but I think we're just dead. Yep. Okay. Well, without the burn spells to interact early, it's kind of a problem. Magus seemed actually kind of strong. I think I will bring in a Shenanigans over... Actually, over a Spikefield Hazard. We'll try it like that. Flame Slash could be important, because if my opponent has like 2 Supreme Phantoms, or a Supreme Phantom and a Drogskull Captain, we might need to kill a Lord that has 4 toughness. Okay, I really like this hand. So we're going to keep. Especially on the play. Having our opponent have to react to us when theoretically we can get under their creatures is so much better than like what the situation was last game. Okay. So start Mountain Swiftspear. Get in for 1. Okay, opponent starts Flooded Strand. Anytime our opponent has to pay life for mana, that's good for us. Fetch and Shock. And an Aether Vial. Aether Vial, not really what we wanted to see here, but we drew Shenanigans, which is our best possible top deck in this scenario, I think. So unless our opponent has Force of Negation, there's nothing they can do about that. We do have to take a turn off of playing Blister Coil Weird, but it is so worth it to stop my opponent from playing a 1-drop and a 2-drop this turn. Okay, they play Cavern. Naming Core. Okay. Well, we have the Bone Crusher for the Stomp. We will not dread Shenanigans. We draw Spikefield Hazard. So go to combat. Attack our opponent. No blocks. So opponent understands that we probably have Stomp. Play Spikefield Cave. Play Blister. Play... Actually, I should have cast Light Up the Stage first. That was a mistake. So opponent gains some life. Alright, play Soulscar Mage. Opponent gains a little more life. We have a land for next turn, though. Which I probably still would have played Spikefield Hazard. We are representing a large amount of damage next turn. Okay, opponent plays a Fiery Islet. 3 mana Core. Oh, the Apparition, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Opponent attacks us for 2, sure. So we untap. We will not dread Shenanigans. Draw Firebolt. Play a Mountain. Firebolt the Apparition. So we get a 1/1 blue illusion after the fact. Opponent gets to gain 1 life out of this. Okay. We'll play a Blister Coil Weird. And then attack for 2. So the presence of Core Firewalker means that most of our like Lava Dart style spells actually do nothing without Prowess. Okay. Opponent plays a Cavern of Souls on Spirit. They have a Mausoleum Wanderer that can't be countered. I'm going to go ahead with a Lava Dart here. Okay. Untap. No Dredge. We get a Light Up the Stage. So go to combat. Attack with the Prowessy dudes. Okay, opponent is going to block. So we're going to try a Stomp. This is only bad if my opponent has Spell Queller, which it seems like they do, but I'm also not going to just not attack, I think. Okay. So they can exile the Stomp, but they're still going to take damage this turn, so we can still light up the stage. So Spectacle, light up the stage. Opponent gains a life back. Play Soulscar Mage. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent's playing an Uncounterable Spirit here. It's a Drogskull Captain. They're going to attack us for 3. Sure. We untap. Would like a land or a burn spell. No shenanigans. Okay. Bone Crusher Giant is quite good. So this time we're going to attack all out, including the illusion, because if my opponent chumps the illusion with Drogskull, we have a Lava Dart. They know we have a Lava Dart, and they know we probably have something else. Okay. So flashback Lava Dart onto Drogskull Captain. And the only spell that gets us here is Spell Pierce exactly. I guess Dispel would do it too. Do they have it? Oh, wow, they have a path. Okay. Alright, alright. So they get to keep their core Firewalker around, but they're still taking a lot of damage this turn. And they're losing Drogskull Captain in the process. So it's not total victory like we had been hoping for, but it is... we're still doing pretty good here. And like if we hit a Lightning Bolt, we can Lightning Bolt Spell Queller, we can get back the Stomp, and that works to kill the Firewalker too. Okay, they're going to sack Fiery Islet to draw a card. They play a Moorland Haunt. That is annoying, actually. Opponent has a number of creature cards in their graveyard that they can turn into spirits, but they can't activate it with the lands that they have currently. So we untap. No dredge. Another Bone Crusher Giant. Alright, go to combat. Swing for the fences. And opponent has to have another Spell Queller for this to be bad. Okay, opponent's going to flash in a Rattle Chains. Okay, they're going to give Spell Queller Hexproof. That's fine. This opponent has to have another path to path whatever Firewalker blocks. For the 3rd time. Stomp. This Firewalker has gained them so much life. Did we get there? Opponent goes to 5. Damage goes through. Firewalker down. They are in bolt range. Finally. If we top deck a land, we can flashback Firebolt. If we top deck like any burn spell, I'm pretty sure they just die immediately. Oh, it's not over yet, but hopefully it's close. Opponent drew an Aether Vial. Actually, that just lets me dredge shenanigans and guarantee that I have a spell next turn, which should kill them. Plus, we don't want them to have an Aether Vial, I guess. Yeah, I'll do it. It was going to be Spikefield Hazard. If my opponent has another flash threat, they can survive. Or if they drew a path. But they probably drew Aether Vial considering they just played it. And if they had path, they would have stopped core from dying. Alright, time to flunge. They have something. Rattle Chains, okay? So opponent can double block to kill something. Actually, they can't, because they would just die if that happens. So they lose Rattle Chains, they go to 1. They are dead to any burn spell, and I think they have to have core Firewalker now to survive. And they would still die to top deck land Firebolt. Alright. We are 4-0 going into round 5. Whew! Stressful. Alright. Reveal Jingatha. Round 5. Here we go. We're on the draw. I think a mulligan is in order here. There's a Spikefield Hazard light up the stage play, but I don't like it. Ugh, alright. This is really slow. Put back Flame Slash. This might get there. This is the first really iffy hand we've had with this deck. And we are against mono red. Okay, so we'll start Spikefield Cave. Depending on what our opponent plays next turn, we might just have to Firebolt a creature, which would feel pretty bad. I would love to top deck a mountain here. I think that would be our best play, or best draw would be a mountain. Okay, opponent plays a Sprite Dragon. They have a mutagenic growth, so we're going to take a lot of damage. We untap and draw a Lava Dart. I'm going to just cast Firebolt. I need to top deck a Mountain. I should, like, opening hand would have been slightly better, I think. Opponent Crash Throughs. Hits us for 2. And they Lava Dart us. We draw a Light Up the Stage. Alright. Time to play our own Soul Scar, which our opponent can put a -1/-1 counter on with their Lava Dart. We just need to hit a second land so bad. Okay, opponent has a Lightning Bolt. It's in for 2. It's us down to 8. We untap and draw. Play Swift Spear. And our opponent for 1. I think going to 5 was absolutely not the correct play. So opponent casts a Lava Dart out of hand to turn our Swift Spear from a 1/2 into a 0/1. Okay. That means they're pretty confident in the cards that they have in killing us, which would be completely reasonable for our opponent to assume. Because now Lightning Bolt doesn't kill Soulscar if they play another Mountain, which is a pretty low-cost situation to be in. And we can't even light up the stage without another mana now. So they bolt us. We go down to 3. Alright, we passed the turn. I think I've got to hope that Lightning Bolt in response to their first spell gets there. When we ourselves are dead to bolt, and no way to gain life versus the deck that runs a bunch of Lightning Bolts. Okay, opponent goes to combat. Attacks us for 1. Block with our 0/1. It didn't do anything. Like, we're still just dead to almost everything. Yeah, Bedlam Reveler definitely kills us. They pitch Soulscar, Soulscar, Stormwing Entity. So we untap and die. Alright, well that was a bad situation to be in. The good news is for next game we will be on the play. We could bring in Relic. I doubt we need it. I think Relic is going to be for things like Dredge or... Yeah, we're just going to run it back. Alright, we'll play first. Reveal Jengotha. 1 land, well 2 lands I guess, we'll keep. Double Swift Spear is a strong start. We do have access to a Light Up the Stage, potentially next turn. So start Mountain, Swift Spear. Opponent did mulligan to 6. Get in for 1. The problem, I think, with our opponent's deck versus our deck is their deck has a much higher like burst potential because they have mutagenic growths, which are lightning bolts that cost no mana. Okay, they play a Scalding Tarn. We draw an Abbot. So go to combat. Get in for 1. Opponent takes the 1. So we light up the stage. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn now that they have lost life. If they had done that pre-combat, we could cast Light Up the Stage pre-combat. Alright, we play a Mountain. Play a Swift Spear. Pass the turn. So we have a Lightning Bolt we need to use next turn. Opponent gut shots us. So probably for main phase Light Up the Stage. Stormwing Entity, okay. So we untap. They probably have a mutagenic growth here. So we're going to start by playing Mountain and casting a Lightning Bolt. Alright, go to combat. Attack for 4. Take our opponent down to 11. And I am going to play Abbot and just throw away whatever is on top of my deck. Because we need to press the advantage while we've got it. And we have a lot of Prowess triggers in our hand. Okay, yep. Don't need to light up the stage, unfortunately. Pass the turn. Alright, we untap and draw. Another Abbot, so we're going to go ahead and play an Abbot here. Ooh, and we got a Lightning Bolt. So the plan is to just Lightning Bolt our opponent. Tons of Prowess triggers. Nice. I still think no adjustments. And it really depends on how our burn spells and creatures line up with their burn spells and creatures as to who 5-0s. This is the only thing standing between us and a 5-0. The first 5-0 we've had in a long time. Okay, reveal Jengotha. I think this hand is fine. It's not amazing, but I think it's fine. Opponent plays Fiery Islet Soulscar Mage. I think I'm going to Flame Slash this Soulscar Mage. They would have to have a mutagenic growth to save it, and that would be a big deal if they used that on our turn. Okay, they Gutshot us, presumably to light up the stage on their own turn, or to play, I guess, Stormwing Entity. Alright, they do light up the stage to find a land. We draw a mountain, so this Spikefield Hazard is probably going to be an actual burn spell. We'll play Soulscar Mage this turn. We might be able to play Magus to shut them off of blue, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn. Gets a Steam Vents tapped. Okay. They untap. They're Manamorphose. I think they're going to play Stormwing Entity. At which point we can probably bolt it. Okay. I get to scry. I kind of want to know how they want to scry here, so I'm going to open up the game log real quick. One card on the bottom, one card on the top. Okay. And our opponent's going to pass. I'm going to bolt the Stormwing Entity now. Okay. We untap, we draw, mountain, play a mountain, play Magus of the Moon. We're going to take our opponent off of blue mana. Hit them for 1. If they have to waste a removal spell or burn on Magus, that's really good for us. Okay, Manamorphose, so we're not really hindering them from using their mana this turn. If they just play another Stormwing Entity, okay, red, they're going to Abrade Soulscar Mage. Okay. And then play a Swift Spear. We untap. I'm going to restart the client really quick. See what we draw first. Mountain. Okay. So I think the plan is to Firebolt the Swift Spear, put Jengotha in our hand, and hit our opponent for 2 down to 11. Okay, opponent untaps, plays a Soulscar Mage, passes, draw a Lava Dart, so we could either flashback Firebolt or cast Jengotha, and I think casting Jengotha is the way. Not going to attack. Firebolt would have been bad if my opponent had basically anything, which is exactly what this is. This opponent Lava Darts Jengotha twice. They play a land. They only have 1 card in hand, but they can cast Lava Dart twice from the grave. Bedlam Reveler draws them 3 cards. That's pretty good. Manamorphose. Give them the old Prowess triggers. If they attack, we're not blocking because of Lava Dart. Yep, no blocks. We'll take 2. We untap and draw a mountain. Play a mountain. Flashback Firebolt onto Soulscar Mage. My opponent can flashback a Lava Dart here, and they do. Spikefield Hazard to kill it. And because Jengotha is no longer a real viable threat, if my opponent flashes back another Lava Dart to turn Jengotha into a 1/1, we will tap Jengotha for mana to kill Soulscar Mage. Nice. Now my opponent is down 2 mana. They do have 3 cards in hand, though, so they're in a better spot than we are. Alright, they crash through, give Bedlam Reveler trample, they find a land, they don't attack. We draw light up the stage, Lava Dart our opponent, Spectacle light up the stage, attempt a Flame Slash. Oh my god, it worked. Attack with the littlest Jengotha. Oh man, that Flame Slash was amazing. Alright. Opponent must hold a lot of lands right now. Go to combat. Hit them for 3. They are a lightning bolt away from dead. Their hand might be a bunch of opts and stuff like that. Spikefield Hazard our opponent's face. Spectacle light up the stage. Spikefield Hazard their face. Yeah! We 5-0'd! 11 treasure chests. Alright. That's what I'm talking about. Alright. Treasure chest number 1. 10 play points. Squawkward Fearless Fledgling and Destructive Force, which is the bigger Wildfire effect for 1 more mana. Treasure chest number 2. 20 play points and a Mausoleum Wanderer, which I believe is worth something. It is. It is almost 2 tickets. Treasure chest number 3. We get Dread, the Elemental Incarnation, and 10 play points. Treasure chest number 4. We get 5 play points. Ooh, Flash? I know that's used in, like, the old Flash Hulk combo. Flash is not worth anything, unfortunately. Treasure chest number 5. 5 play points, a Blinking Spirit, and a Shacklegeist. Shacklegeist might be worth something. Simply because it's an M21. Nope. Some of the newer standard rares, because of MTG Arena being more widely played, are not as common. Sword of Vengeance. This is actually one of the first rares I ever opened, because I bought a Deck Builder's Toolkit pretty early, and got this card. Alright, treasure chest number 6. 25 play points and a Castle Embereth. Treasure chest number 7. 5 play points, a Llanowar Wastes, and an Ojutai's Command. Treasure chest number 8. I guess this is 9, actually. I lost count somewhere. Dismiss into Dream. 10 play points. Treasure chest number 10. 125 play points and a Hostile Desert. And treasure chest number 11, and last but not least, Spell Swindle. Alright. So, for anyone looking for a budget deck, this one's pretty good. I know this is a little bit more meta than Mad Meta Magic, but I was like, a mono red deck that isn't running Obosh, I feel like is a little bit different. This deck would absolutely fold incredibly hard to Chalice of the Void on one. So if you're playing in a metagame with Chalice of the Void very frequently being played, I would definitely run either More Shenanigans or Shatter Spree. Because the replicate copy gets around Chalice's cast stipulation. Shatter Spree might technically be better, or Shenanigans might technically be better than Shatter Spree, I'm not sure. But we 5-0'd! We 5-0'd with a deck for the first time in a long time, and it wasn't a top meta deck. This current mono red aggro meta percentage is something like 2%, so it's exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thought we had some interesting situations occur, even though this was the standard mono red slugfest that mono red kind of devolves into, which is just deal as much damage as possible. Magus of the Moon doing some critical work, several games, and Jengotha even came out to play more than once, which I was really surprised about. But alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you were so inclined. It'd mean the world to me if you did, and it costs you nothing and supports the channel. Don't know when the next stream is going to be. I'm going to be traveling in the next few days. It looks like it may have been postponed like a day due to weather. We'll see. But yeah. You can also follow me on Twitch, same username over there as you find me on here. I usually stream Wednesdays, but like I said, that's probably not going to be the case for this Wednesday, or maybe the Wednesday after, and who knows if my parents' internet will be good enough to actually continue streaming on Wednesdays. But alright, I've rambled enough. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Bye!